Hey y'all, welcome to My Way Mysteries, the channel that brings you interdimensional content, which means that the readings are from a broad and expansive point of view, as they are channeled through vast dimensions of space and time, and therefore should resonate with you guys whenever you come across them. So, I get a lot of requests for the Dawn mentorship session, and out of all the requests that I've gotten, I've only done about maybe 5 or 6 of them, and all the other people I've recommended or talked them into doing either the dusk or the dark version based on where I felt their energy was. And so, like, the last person who this whole thing, like this process happened with, was like, can I give them an example of what, is spoken about in the Dawn version, almost to kind of like, kind of like explain to them how come I don't feel like that is the reading for them. And I kind of promised that I would do kind of like a reading that um encapsulates that Dawn mentorship session energy, right? And that's what this is going to be. Guys, now you're gonna see by the reading, it's not so much like me judging where you are on your path spiritually. It's me being aware of how aware you are of yourself. How you see yourself. Who are you? What are you? Because if I allow you to just jump into a Dawn level mentorship session, which, yes, it's a mentorship session, but it obviously comes with a reading. And then I'm going to say certain things that awaken, that awaken certain parts of you. Those parts are going to start talking to you. They're going to start interacting with you, and you're going to be like, what the fuck? Because you were not ready. Next thing you know, you're psychosising. I don't know if that's a word, it's not the point. Next thing you know, you're all over the place, and now we have a problem. Like, you don't know how important it is to pace yourself within your journey and not rush to what you think is some sort of a finish line, because there's no such thing. It's all it's an uncovering, it's a development, it's an unfolding, like, and it's infinite, like it's a discovery, layer after layer. When you get to the point where you feel like, yeah, this is it, there's always more. So, you know, chill. And at the same time, there are those of you that are definitely at that level where you can book the Dawn mentorship session. You will realize that yourself, like, depending on how you resonate with the reading I'm about to do now. And for the rest of you who you like, oh shit, like, what? Like, it goes that far? Yes. And that's why I have you in the Dusk level mentorship session, or in the dark, because yes, you are headed there, but you're still in the space that for you feels like it's so big and it's so much, and you don't know there's still so much more, right? Which is a great thing, by the way. I keep telling people the beginning is not a bad place to be. Being a beginner is not a bad place to be. It's actually it's as good of a place as any of the other levels to be at, because at every level there's something new that you're discovering. And like I said, don't chase the finish line, because there is none. Okay, cool. And you know the funny thing, right? On a bigger scale, the levels of the mentorship session are not so much putting a marker at different parts of the journey in a linear way to be like, this is level 1, level 2, level 3. It's actually more like this is your playground within this realm. This is where you'll always play and whatever. Your spiritual work doesn't actually involve the stuff that's in the dawn session. And the people that like end up getting the dawn session is because that's where you've always played. You just needed a bit of like remembering, revision, which is maybe why I had first put you through the dusk and the dark like level. But yeah, okay, so first I'm gonna start with a little story, guys. I haven't told you guys a story in such a long time. My stories are normally like silly, like 90 seconds and I'm done, because I normally just have like a little bit of things to tell you. But yeah, but this time, because it's part of the reading, it will seem like kind of a longish story. Yeah, the last story I told you I think was of okay, it doesn't matter, but yeah. Okay, so in this story, we're gonna center it around. I mean, this is starting at maybe. This is how someone's story is an example of how a person who is in the dawn level, this is kind of how like your story would go from a quantum origin point of view, maybe, but also this is the stuff, kind of stuff we would touch on, like within your session. So, this is someone who is close to what you would describe as a obanje. If you don't know what an obanje is, I'm going to link that reading in the description box because I've already done a reading about that. Now, I'm saying this is close to that because with this child in particular, with an obanje is like a spirit that is that comes across as human. So obviously humanoid looks just like you and me, but it's not really a person. Like this person internally, they are working at such a high frequency, they are working at such an advanced frequency that yeah, like this is like from child level, this child can heal themselves. This child is able to process like emotions that are brought up within the adults around them. They're able to navigate certain situations that obviously other children can't, because an obanja is not really, even at a young stage, it's not really a child. Lo muntu umuntu omdala. Like, you know, this is like umuntu omdala inside the body of a child when they're a child. And the thing with an obanja is that they hardly ever make it out of childhood because an obanja tends to want to leave. That's where I'm going to differentiate here. With an obanja, it's a spirit masquerading as a human being that actually wants to leave. It's almost like they got here by mistake. You know, they're not finna be here. They want to go. Um and also with them, their spiritual family and stuff tends to always call them back and type of thing. Whereas the person I'm talking about now, it wasn't like that. The person I'm talking about now comes from a lineage of spiritual royalty. So it could be someone that sees themselves as a person on NZUNZA, or someone that like sees themselves as someone who attracts a lot of entities, or someone who is connected to star systems like the Anunnaki, the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, those type of star systems. It's also someone who is heavily connected or could be connected to like Orisha, like all these like royal spiritual families, right? Or if it's in mythologies, it would be like those pantheons, right? Those gods and goddesses. So what happens is that where this person is originally from, the dimension they're originally from, your coming of age is being moved into another dimension, being born into another dimension. So where this person comes from, in order to be born into this world, it was more like um entering a certain portal from where they come from, because where they come from is like a golden age type of dimension where frequency is high, you know, love is pure, um it's precise. It's what we would call here authentic. It's what we would call, it's just living on like the highest level basically of existence, where everything is flow. So it's not a matter of, oh, there's no such thing as certain things that you call bad here, but no, they are, but they're not called bad there. The way in which they're navigated is not the same. And I also want to mention how gender is kind of different where this person is from, like the dimension from which they're from. You get men and women, you do get that, but um the idea of what a woman is and what a man is not the same as here. And I think a lot of people here don't even realize that the idea, the concept of women, and I'm not talking about your sexual organs that make you a certain sex. I'm talking about the idea of being a woman, what a woman is. Like Hamabati, a woman is a nurturer, a woman does this and this and this, and a man is a protector and whatever. That's a template. That's a concept. It's an idea. Someone came up with it. It's not a it's not a it's not like, it's not written in a person's blood, it's not written in a person's DNA. And that's why, because it's not like, that's why a man can be a nurturer, that's why a woman can be a protector, a provider, because it's just, it's a story. It's just something that we decided as a society. This is how we want to narrate our story. We want our women to be like this, we want our men to be like this, like type of thing, right? So yeah. And in this dimension, it's not like that. You don't get these templates that are like put on. That's why it's so high frequency, because there aren't any false templates. You get to develop in your most natural way. Your story or your nature is discovered through experience as you come up, as you become, type of thing. A villain, like what you would call a villain here, is not really created like there. You're born like that. Like, but that's what you were always going to be. And like, it's not called a villain there. It's not something seems like, oh, that one is a bad one. Like, no. No, you have your purpose. Everything has their purpose. Okay. So yes, it's a very non-dual type of energy, right? Type of frequency where our main character is from. So, okay, cool. And then what happens is that in this family, because it's like type of like a royal family type of thing, and royal there's not like royal here where there's one royal, like, well, Nalan, I guess there isn't one, but here, but anyway, like there you get like, it's a thing. It's a thing. You could almost even say the whole town is royal. It's a thing. It's a thing. So, okay, cool. Or the whole planet, sorry. The whole planet is royal, basically. And that's why I would say, like, if you are someone who this is your quantum lineage and I was doing a reading for you, I would describe you as someone who comes from a spiritually royal lineage. Because it's a lineage that isn't within this dimension, and I might not call it royal if I was within that dimension, but to describe it from this dimension here is what we call royal. Okay. So you were basically born into this world from that world. How you left that world is like through a portal. It could have been you going underwater. It could have been you going into a cave, but it's a coming of age thing. It's a whole ritual for your family where you are a certain age or at a certain stage of development. You go into this portal so that you can be born into another dimension and start your life, like do your thing. So how you left your dimension, it wasn't because there was a war, it wasn't because anything was wrong. You're not a refugee in this dimension. Like, it's a coming of age thing. It's just what your family does. Because guys, you can't just be staying there and what you want to experience who you are. And sometimes you can only experience that in the lower frequencies, in the lower vibrations, to see a contrast type of thing. You feel? So it's also another thing where you are coming like to whatever dimension you're going to, example here, in order to just go back. It's not that. You see, it's not like the Obanje. I think the Obanje maybe leave their dimensions out of like something like war or something, and that's why they crave going back. I feel like the Obanje ne, it's kind of like that whole thing. And I haven't told you guys the esoteric explanation of the story of Moses, him being put into the river because the river in that story signifies time. It's like a portal where he went from his dimension into this other dimension that was then called Egypt. But I digress. One day we'll get into that. Not today. And I think the Obanja are like that, and that's why they want to go back home so badly. And maybe some of you resonate with that, you know, some of you resonate with this feeling of like, I want to go back home, I want to go back home. And maybe that's because with you guys, you don't leave home as like, you know, a coming of age, like, you know, ritual in your family, whatever. You left because you were forced to leave, or you might have even left accidentally. Anyway, we'll talk about you guys another day. But for today, stick with me. So, okay, cool. This person comes into this world in that way. But you don't come in here alone. Obviously, you come from like a royal family. You think they're just gonna let you go by yourself? No. You leave with what I've previously called a handler. I want to change that word and make it something else, but for now, I don't have another word yet. But yes, you come in here with what is called a handler. Okay. And this handler, you and this handler are made of the same thing. You come from the same place. That's why you are so connected. And what happens is that whatever family you are born into, whatever bloodline you are born into, which will normally happen that whatever bloodline you are born into is connected to the family that you come from the other dimension. So the people from your family in the other dimension are always born into this bloodline. Do you understand? So cool, you're not the first one from this dimension to be born into this bloodline here, right? So I hope you guys are following. So okay, cool. You're born in here, and it's kind of like how I was explaining the twin story, iNzunza, how like you are with your handler all the time. Like even as like your body is developing in your mother's womb, you are with your handler all the time. That handler never leaves your side, like ever. But let's get to the interesting parts. So you grow up with this handler. They always kind of secretly whispering things and explaining things to you and almost making sure that you kind of never forget where you come from. That's why you would have had, like I explained in that Zunza reading, situations where you might have been sick as a child, because it's really hard to balance, like, you know, a world that you can't see, that you can't, you know, hear or anything, and a world that you can. And yet there's this feeling of you feeling like you've got one foot in like two different places, like you can imagine. And then there's the point where the child must now develop the earthly personality. And that is to say, the child must now take on templates of this world. Oh my God, the trauma. Because these templates are so limited. You come from a place that is expanded. You come from a place that is so open, where restriction is not a state of being. It's just something that you guys do in order to expand further. It's not that you're new to restriction, but not like this, not as a way of living. It's too much. This world is heavy on you. So you grow up as this child that feels sort of like melancholic and like sad and depressed all the time. And there's these things that happen in your life because the people around you, they can kind of sense this otherworldly thing about you. They can, you know, you either grow up like dreaming certain things, and you tell your parents and you tell your grandparents, and sometimes they're scared. And it's not like this world is not used to magic. They have it, but the scale at which you exhibit it is too much. It's scary. Sometimes you'll be put in a situation where you're in a very like religious family, and they see the way you are as like wrong and dark and like of a devilish nature or something like that. So you're completely not supported. And if anything, what they don't tell you, these people all around you, is that they're kind of scared of you. See, in some families, they've tried to treat you badly, but for some reason, it's not easy. And the reason for that is also because you have this handler, you have this protector, like the whole time. Now, this is where it gets interesting, it gets wicked. So, as you start to grow, and it's not just as you start to grow, I'm going to tell you this, like from the moment you're born, this is what happens. This entity that you've come with, that is the handler, this entity that you come with. You know this whole thing about like deals with the devil and stuff like that and so forth. Don't get scared. Don't get scared. Stay with me. Um, and basically how like I think the whole story is that like you give the devil your soul or something. I don't even know what that means. Do you guys know what that means? I don't even know what that means. Stop listening to things that you don't know what they mean and then being scared of nothing. Ask like, what the fuck does that even mean? Anyway, and I know you're there like, Zanne, your soul, your soul. Oh, explain it to me. Explain it to me. I digress. Let's come back. So this entity kind of does something like that, where it kind of meets up like with the elders of certain people in your life. I don't know if you're hearing me. So I need to everybody that's here, all of you have ancestors, right? That are guiding your path and so forth. So you as this spirit masquerading as a human being from another dimension, but now you're here, like, and you come with this handler, with this entity, right? What's going to happen is that just before you're born, this entity is able to speak to a parent of yours, but their ancestor, not your parent directly, and basically offer them this deal. They're not the devil. I was just trying to make sure you guys understand. And what this deal is that it is something like, I will provide for you. I'll give you everything you need. And what I need is, how do I say this? It needs to kind of use that person's body. Do you understand? So this is not an embodiment. This is not a thing where this person made space for this entity, your handler. No, no, no. That's why a deal has to be struck, because the handler is not going to possess this person. You guys are not like that. Your family, your frequency is not like that. It's not low vibrational. Like you ask, you offer something in return, and therefore that's what happens. So this entity says to abantu bagabo babako or bagabo mamako, depending on who raised you or who was the power figure, the dominant figure when you were growing up. If it's your grandmother, it will be that. And says to them, Buti, mina ngicela ukuzophila nani for isikhashana kodwa kuzobe kudrive mina, because lo kahle kahle umntanami, and ngifuna ukumkhulisa ngendlela yami, ngifuna ukumnakekela ngendlela yami. So ngizocela ukuthi ningifakeni mina, in return ngizoniyenzela lokho enikudingayo, ngizoniyenzela. And basically that's how you kind of get to grow up in a certain way. So you'll find that even if you didn't grow up in like a wealthy, rich way, you were taken care of. Like things that you need were taken care of. If it was a matter of that you needed to learn things about lack and so forth, you will find that you were loved. Like, and you guys might think everybody is loved. You would be very mistaken. Guys, there's people that are in their 30s and 40s and they've never been loved, and they say I love you to their partners, but they don't really know how that is. And you can tell by the way they carry themselves in their relationships. Like, love is still needing to be activated within them as a blueprint altogether. It hasn't. No one has done that for them yet. So with you might not have had like wealth or money in your family, but your love blueprint was activated. Basically, always this handler will activate things from your original blueprint, from where you're from. So, okay, cool. You grow up, and this handler just keeps on making deals like that with people around you. That's why you find your experiences to be quite interesting, because really, you weren't really raised by your parent. You were raised by your parent, but you were actually raised by the handler. You weren't really dating these people, these girls, these boys. You were actually being developed and taught earthly things by your handler, by this one that is here to help you carve this path of yours within this dimension. And throughout, it's like that. Some of you are married and it's like that. Where your handler spoke to abantu bakabo partner wakho ukuthi, so I'm now ready for ukuthi lo mntana lona ashade yabo. So obviously uzoshadela kini. Mina ngizoniyenzela sona 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 sona, so nina ngicela ukuthi ningifakeni lapho. Ngizoqhubeka mina nalo muntu lo. Oh, you also notice how, like, with certain people you've met in your life, especially when you started growing up as an adolescent, you are the same people that speak about how when you meet someone, like, izinto zabo zicala ukuhamba kahle. If maybe bezingahambi kahle, zizocala ukuhamba kahle izinto zabo. Or when you go live with someone, their things start being okay or whatever, whatever. Or as soon as you detach from someone or you and them are not okay anymore, maybe sometimes their things start dwindling. Sometimes, it's not common, but like, yeah, sometimes. And it's not because, oh my God, angazi wena uhamba, like you are this thing, whatever. No, it's because the deal is over. Maybe it was a short-term deal, like you're good, okay, for 6 months, angithi wena uzohlala nalo mntana. So mina ngizokuyenzela so, or and there's also sometimes the payment can be like trickling down, like a payment of over 10 years. So even after you leave someone, the person keeps doing it well for like 20 more years. Like there's still some time before they have to fend for themselves again. You know, they're still like, they got the gold that the dragon done left for them. So they're good. Okay. So yeah. Let's pull some cards. So for my dawn level students, even if you've never booked a mentorship session, you're at the stage of your life where the story, like your story, is unfolding in a way that it never has before. Like before, you were getting bits and pieces about like this other version of yourself, kind of like these multidimensional versions of yourself, right? That includes this big piece. But now it's unfolding in such a way that's crazy, because whether your handler is of NZUNZA nature, you know, or of Orisha nature, or of star being nature, you have come to the point where the communication between you and that entity that is your handler is like, it's at such a beautiful place. It's at a place where you're trusting and you're now able to calibrate certain information that you hear. You don't, you know, you don't need so much help anymore. Things don't have to be done so slowly. But that's also because it's coming to the point where you are no longer so dependent on the entity or on the handler or on NZUNZA, and that's because now it's time for the embodiment. It's like you need to finally understand what this handler energy is, why you guys are twinning so much, why its sole purpose is you are its sole purpose. And that's the information that you're going to come to within the embodiment. And that will be kind of like a final stage of a certain story just before another story begins. You are needing to understand that the whole time you are the one that is from this other place, that is from this other family. So fam, the whole time you are the one with the power. It's always been you. I almost said you are the entity. All these templates that you've created in order to help you navigate this space are all wrapping up. You've balanced karmic cycles in such a way that your books are like done, they're clean. It's the end, and it's now time for another story. It's time for a new story. And this one starts with you being so aware of what you are, you being aware of your story, you being aware of your myth. Myths are there in order to help us find ourselves, in order to spot in the story something that is you, in order for you to find yourself in the story. That's why I've told you the story I just told you. Another thing that I wanted to say is that it's also not just one handler. The person I'm talking about, like I said, unlike the Obanje that like longs to go back, and therefore that's why the Obanje suffers from like, you know, suicidal thoughts and like actual serious depression and things like that, if they do make it past childhood. Like, even if they become like famous or moneyed, it's hard for the Obanja to be happy. With you, it's not that. The whole purpose of your story is to go create somewhere else. You are sent to kind of like go make the mark of your family in another dimension. It's the whole point. And the other thing is that you almost like you bring your boys with you. Like, that is to say, you almost, it's like when you are now at a certain level, like where you guys are, it's you become the portal for more of your kind to come through. So then you'll find that you start meeting certain people within this world, new friends, lovers, business associates, fuck, real estate agents, whatever it is. But all of a sudden, all these people that you meet reflect the people or the beings of where you're from. I think this is what they call soul family. And it's because they really are that. You finally get this opportunity to create or recreate, rather, a purer frequency of this term family. Because, like I said, you open a portal for more to come through. So you guys, the ones I'm talking to, you guys were kind of like that. Your responsibility was to be the one that opens the doors, because more of your people are coming through. They're here, actually. They're here. And that's why you're going to find that your life is about to get so much easier. And also, this is gonna be new for you and weird, but you're actually going to start enjoying your life. I know you're gonna be like, Zanne, people enjoy their lives. No, boo, people just make it seem like they're enjoying their lives, you know, type of thing. Otherwise, there is a lot of stuff that actually haunts people. It's not easy to enjoy your life. It's not about going to certain restaurants or owning a certain car and wada. That can make you happy for like 3 months. But in order for that to make you happy long term, because hear me out, I'm not saying that stuff doesn't make you happy. It definitely can make you happy. But there's other stuff you must have sorted out within yourself for that stuff to make you happy long term. Like I said, the Obanje also becomes a successful person. They cannot not be. They have the cheat codes. They're from another dimension. But because for some reason they find it hard to work through like karmic cycles, and it's that longing of going back like I said, I think it's because with the Obanje, there's something that's happening where they're from. It's either they left because of a war or some shit like that. You know, like Moses' mom put him in the basket because shit was going down. So, kind of vibe. If it's like that, of course you're gonna always long for home. Hello, hello. But yeah, you're breaking into like this new. You're breaking out of like this cocoon that was like basically prepping you from a atomic like level, from like a neural level. So it's not just like this surface level of like, oh, I'm a new person and like whatnot. No, boo, it's from like deep within. It's lit. It's lit. You're embodying not just like your core template, but you're understanding how expanded your core pure template is. It's not just a humanoid template, it's a whole reality template. It's a whole reality template. It involves everything that you interact with. You guys, unlike the Obanja that always wants to go home, you guys create home here. You bring the frequencies of where you are from your golden age dimension, and you find a way through all the struggles of all the years and the balancing of the karmic cycles up until now in order to create your home here. And you guys are finally doing that. Guys, what the fuck? You've got the Wheel of Fortune, you've got the Death card, you've got the Lovers. Like, let me tell you, you guys done open the door, like open sesame. You guys done open the. Do you guys know the story of Open Sesame of Alibaba? How that door only opened when he used the words open sesame. And like, because obviously certain frequency, like that's kind of like what you guys have been able to do. You have, oh, this is so beautiful. You've matched your frequency to the frequency of your home, like your true home or your true template, call it what you will, but in that other dimension. You've matched it here. You are functioning at that frequency. And so naturally, those things that happen in that dimension are gonna start happening for you here. Oh, I love this. I love this. I love this. I feel like somehow it's so showing through these cards, but I don't know how to explain that. Because, obviously these cards talk to me because, like, I'm their mother. But, like, I don't know if you guys can see it. Maybe you guys are, like, the aunts and the uncles to these cards and they'll talk to you too. Oh, and also, even if you look at it, like, from this angle, maybe this will make more sense to y'all. So this is this portal opening, like, the open sesame, and this is you, like, because you're on that frequency, and what the fuck, and you might be like, Zanne, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, look at this guy, he looks dark, he looks scary, he looks like what the fuck. Well, yeah, babe, obviously, because his energy is made up of things that most people don't understand. So when the masses look at you, they see something that's like, this is just weird, this is just dark, this is just strange. But no, it's because their minds or their eyes stop at a certain level. You can only see as far as you see yourself. So if you're not able to see yourself like as multidimensional or as anything other than what your life is here, you're not going to be able to see another person in that way either. So that other person is just going to be like, oh, they're weird, or they're a freak, or they're dark, or they're satanic, or they're whatever. They're a zealot. I don't know. Like, yeah. But yeah, anyway, you finally you cracked the code is basically what I'm getting here. You cracked the code. You cracked the code. You cracked the code. It's on, boo. It's on. Yeah, so that's what I have for you guys. I think this is the longest reading I've done. If the reading resonated, please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to book a personal reading, all the information is in the description box. If you want to book a mentorship session, all that information is in the description box. Cool.